So Faisal, if you could, okay, so let's get started, right? So just walk us through briefly again, your experience, and then Jairam
Definitely, I would
into
like
some
to
of
say
the
that I was actually working as
specific
a
questions.
DevOps engineer with the US Bank in the Portland, Oregon. And
Definitely.
my main
I
roles and
will like to
responsibilities in the
say that
project
I
include
was
but not
actually
limited
working
to
as a
building
DevOps
the
engineer with US Bank in the Portland, Oregon.
Jenkins-based continuous
And my
integration
main
and
roles
deployment
and
pipelines.
responsibilities
And I was
in the
actually
project
responsible
include,
for using the
but are
Red
not
Hat
limited
Package
to
Manager
buildings
as
and
well as the
Jenkins-based
Yum
continuous
on the various
integrations and
servers, and
deployment
using the
pipelines,
Jenkins
and
Code
directly
Deploy plugin to go
responsible
ahead and deploy
for
the
using the
jar
Red
as
Hat
well as the
package
WAR
manage
files on the
as
target
well
machines,
as the Yum
and
on the
utilizing
Bedouin
the
service,
monitoring tools like the
and
log
using the
management
Jenkins code
and
deploy
monitoring tools
plugins
like the
to
Dynatrace
go ahead and
and the
apply as
Datadog as
well
well
as
as
war
the
files on the
Zabbix for the
target machines,
monitoring, and then also
and
working on the
utilizing the monitoring
source
tools like
control
the
tools
log
like the GitHub
management
Enterprise as
and
well as the
monitoring tools
SVN,
like the
and also working on
Dynatrace
the
and the Datadog,
automating
as
the
well as the
Nagios services for
Zabbix
the database,
monitoring.
and working
Then
on
also
the
working on
Ansible
the source control
configuration
tools
management
like
and
the
writing the
GitHub
playbooks
Enterprise as
and
well as the
performing
SVN.
the system
Also
integration
working
with
on
the
the automating
various
and
servers, and also doing the source control
Flutter service
repositories for the Jenkins, and also automating
the
the agile workflow for the
database,
continuous
and working
integration and
on the
testing of the
Ansible
application using
configuration
Jenkins,
management and
and
writing the
responsible for the
playbooks
design and
and
maintenance of
performing
the
the
Git
systems
repositories and access control
integrations and the
strategies,
video service,
and
and also
extensively
doing
worked on
the
the
source
Jenkins
control
continuous
repositories
integration and
for the
continuous
Jenkins,
deployment
also
pipelines
automating
for the
setting
end-to-end
the
automation and build and
actually
test and
works
delivering the
on the
artifact
continuous
and
integration and
troubleshooting the
testing
build issues using
of
the
the
Jenkins
applications
build
using
process
Jenkins,
and
and
using the Ant as well as the
responsibilities
Maven build process
for
for the
the
Java
designs
project, and
and
development of
minerals
the
of
build
the
artifact
GIT
on the
responsibilities
multiple
and
environments. And I was also
repositories,
responsible for
and to
working
access
on the
control
sprint planning
strategic
as well as the
and
sprint review
externally
meetings in
worked
this
on the
case,
Jenkins
which
continuous
was actually
integration
deployed on the
and
multiple servers,
continuous
and
deployment
also configuring the
pipelines of
Jenkins
the Android automated
build
and
for the
build and test,
continuous
and
integration
delivering
and
the
continuous
artifacts
deployment
and
on the
troubleshooting
multiple
the buildings
environments.
using Jenkins
I
build
would like to
process,
say in
and
this
using
case, and
the Maven build process and Java process and development of the
and then
build
releasing that
that affects
application in the real-time servers and trying to understand how
on the
we can do
multiple
this for
environments.
various
And
services, and also
I was
responsible
also
for
responsible
some of
for
the
working
sprint planning as
on
well as
the
the
sprint
sprint
plannings in
review meetings,
SSD
which was actually
interview
used in
meetings
this
in
case
the
for the
case which one
applications,
is
and
applied
trying
on
to
the multiple
understand
servers,
how
and
you can
also
actually have the
configuration the
application deployed
Jenkins builds
on the
of the
real-time
continuous
servers.
integration and
I would like to
continuous
say
development
in this
on
case,
the
so that
multiple
application can
environments.
be
I would
released,
like to
and
say in the case
this is what I was
when
actually
release
working on.
data applications in the real-time service, and trying to understand how we can forward build the videos service, and also responsibilities for some of the spring plannings as well as the spring review meetings. So actually use the case applications and try to understand how we have actually have the application deployed from the real-time service. So I would like to say in case the application can be released forward just in there.
Yeah, thank you. Are you still working in the U.S. bank?
No, actually, my project almost done last couple of months ago.
Okay. So when you write these playbooks, right? I assume you might have written some playbooks for using Ansible to deploy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What type of error handling have you done in playbooks?
So basically, coming to the Ansible error handling, I would like to say that we were actually using
So
the Ansible
basically,
debugger, and then inside that we're
basically
also
come to
having
the
the testing in this case, and then coming
handling.
to
I would
the
like
error
to say that
handling, we were also
directly
trying to use
using
some of the
Ansible debug,
error
and
blocks
then say that
and
you can
fail the
also
task
having
at
the
the end of the
testings in the
playbook.
case, and then
And then
coming
apart
to the
from
error
that, to do the
handling.
proper error handling in this
I
case,
also
we
trying
were
to
also
use the
trying
some
to
of the
have a
other
flag
blocks
which was
and
set as
fill that up to
failed
the
in
end of
this
the
case,
playbook,
and then ignore the errors
and the
on some of
apart
them, and then
from
also
to do the
include some
proper
of the
error
rollback if there is a
handling.
failure in this
In this
case.
case,
So
we
definitely
will
there are
also
various
trying to
techniques
have a
like
flag
ignore errors,
which
and
was
then
set
apart from
as
that,
failed in the
setting
case,
up some of
and
the flags
then
in this
ignore the
case,
errors
and
on
work on top
some
of
of
that. I would
them,
like to
and then
say
also
in the
include some of the
multiple
rollback.
environments for the
If there
application
is a
related
failure
servers.
in the case, you definitely there are various techniques like ignore errors, and then apart from the setting up some of the flags in the case, work on the tops on that. I would like to say the multiple environments for the application related service.
Okay. Have you written something like what to do if a host is unreachable, or
Yeah, so
what
basically, I
to
would like
do
to say
if
that there are various kinds of actions which you can
out
do,
of my 10
and handling
steps,
unreachable
step 5
hosts in this
failed.
case. So basically, you can actually have a condition which can be satisfied in this case. So in this case, you can have blocks which can be used, and you can have a rescue which can be done in this case. So in the rescue, you can specify the roles which can be executed if this fails in this case. So you can easily specify the rescue steps which can be used in this case for the creation of the alternate actions in this case, for the creation of the alternate steps, and making sure that the steps, if they fail, we are actually deploying that on the alternate environments, and then we have the handling of the proper steps in this case.
In the case for the creation of alternate steps, then make the steps. If the fail, we actually deploying that's on the alternative environment, and then you can know we can have the spelling of the proper steps in this case, I thought.
Okay. And have you created any Ansible modules using playbooks?
Definitely, I was actually creating the various Ansible modules for the custom actions, I would like to say in this case. So I was actually using the Ansible modules which were created for the custom actions in this case. So because not all the actions are available from the default modules. So in that case, we were developing the Python modules and the plugins locally, which will actually help me to define the code in this case, and then we can actually deploy the artifact to the multiple servers. So just like we are using the Jenkins shared library, we were also using the Ansible custom modules for putting the artifact on the target server by providing the parameters of the source and the destination machine. I would like to say in this case, which was actually deployed on the multiple environments, and that is how we were trying to make sure that application gets released in the real-time servers, and we were integrating with the Nexus server, and inside that module we were defining the repository URL and the main module, and then using the module utilities in the Python for the Ansible module, and then specifying the custom inventory which will read the inventory file from the dynamic inventory, I would like to say in this case.
Servers and include inside the module for the defining the repository URLs and the main modules, and using the module utilized in the Python for Ansible modules. And then specifically the customs inventory, which will read the inventory file from the Dynamics inventory, I would like to say in this case like this.
Okay. How do you rate yourself when it comes to Linux administration?
So basically, I would rate myself as 8 out of 10 in the Linux administration on the Red Hat as well as the Ubuntu. I would like to say so that which will be actually used in this case.
And read as well, we want to. I would like to say that which will be used in this case.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part. What did you say?
No, basically, actually, myself as 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. That's good. Can you just touch upon just the high-level sequence of commands if you want to extend /var logical volume partition?
Yeah, so basically if you want to extend the
right now,
and I would extend the var partition by multiple things, so I will actually run some of the commands in this case.
If you want to extend I never test in the var partitions by multiple things, var actually runs in the commands. In this case, you do like pvcreate /dap/sba1, then BS and DG extends volumes underscore groups /dap/sba1 BGS and PD extends. Then RVN attempt.
I'm sorry. Just give me the high level command you'll run. So what is the first command? Assume that you have a 10 GB of /var. You want to extend it to 20 GB. Right? Mm-hmm. The engineering team or operations team provided you a 10 GB storage to you. Mm. All you need to do is format the newly assigned storage, and then you have to assign it to the existing one so that you can extend it from 10 GB to 20 GB. Just the high-level steps.
On the times you can just use this command vg first we check the file disk about and then formats, and then you can
and then you will actually mount that volume and remount it using the fs tab file, and then go ahead and check the logical volume and then resize that and then extend the volume in this case so that you can actually go ahead and use that. So first of all, you'll actually go ahead and do the various kinds of physical volume scan, and then if the physical volume is already created, we will extend the volume group, and then the size of the volume group will actually get more space by extending that, and then after that, we'll actually use the volume group under the physical volumes, which will be at one more volume, which will be totally free in this case, and then we're going to expand the partition. After expanding, we can list out the size of the above confirmation, which will be given in this case, I would like to say.
And then if the physical volume is already created by extends by the volume groups, and then size the volume group election to get more space by extends that after we should go to the volume groups, and the physical volumes will be adds or more volume, which should be totally free in the case. Then we're going to extend the
what is the command you use to extend?
About the extent for the 10 GB volume, you want to extend like this?
Correct.
So basically, the command to extend the volume is actually going to be like something
basically the command
by
to
going
extend
there.
the volumes is actually going to be the like something IVX temp hyphen I, then 40 GB or 10 GB, whatever, then slash
and then we have to resize the file system in this case.
Slash var.
Correct. So right. So when you do LV extend, the logical volume is extended. Then it's good. Now, how do you add that extended logical volume to the slash var? There's a specific command you need to run.
So basically, if you want to extend that to the slash var, we will actually do the resizing of the file system and then define that by adding more space. And then we need to resize the file system and then extend that in this case on the multiple servers, and then that is how we will be actually doing it.
That why you're adding more space, and you need to resize the file system and extend that in the case on the multiple servers, and that is the action to forget.
Okay. Well, okay. Have you part of the steps you provided? I didn't hear you using creating the file system.
Yes, we can create the file system by using the LV M command, and then working on top of that so that we can actually have that on the multiple servers, and then apart from that we can get this done by specifying the various kinds of
isn't it creation of file system is mandatory before you start extending the wall?
Yes, this you can do by the PVC creates and IP creates, and then IB
So this is like the high-level stuff which we actually be doing in this
case. Just like that high-level stuff selections be doing in the case.
Okay. And are there any scenarios where you need to create the YUM cache?
So basically, that is available to be done whenever there is a new thing which comes up. So basically, in that case, what we will be doing is we will be having the new cache of the YUM repository by the disk. If there are new packages which are available on the remote servers, I would like to say in this case. So yes, if there are new repository packages which are available there, then definitely we have to specify that in the various kinds of things I would like to say, and that is how we will be actually specifying that.
There are definitely higher to specific that is the various kinds of things I would like to say that is have you been specified that.
Right. So what are the scenarios when you need to do clear YUM cache?
So basically, if you want to clear the YAM cache, then in this case, you have to do it because
so basically,
if there is an
we
old
want to clear
package
the
which is
cache
there, so
in the
basically
case.
the yellow dog
You
application
know have to
modifier
do it
is
because
something which will
there is a
actually
old
help you
package
to
if there is.
specify
So
the cleanup of the
basically, the
downloaded
yellow
YAM
dog
cache. So if you want to remove the
modifier
downloaded YAM cache
is
and
something
rebuild the
which
cache
will
from the
actually help me
scratch,
to
then in that
facilitate
case
the
you have to
cleanup
do it. I would like to
of
say
the
in this
downtown
case.
CTN cache. So if you want to remove the download YAM cache and rebuild the cache from the Richard, then in the case you have to do it. I would like to see in this case.
Okay. And what command do you use to clear the YAM?
So basically, you can actually use the yum cache command for cleaning the yum module. I would like to say in this case, so you can actually do
using yum cache commands to clean the yum module. Basically, yum clean all. Otherwise, yum make cache first. Just use yum clean all.
Okay. Do you have any experience on using SSL certificate?
Yes, I have been using the various kinds of SSL certificates in this case
yes, I have been
for the
using
application
various
related
kinds of
stuff. So
SSL
definitely I was actually using the SSL
certificates
certificate for making sure that
for the applications
we can actually
stuff.
have
So
the encryption of the
definitely,
traffic from
of
the
the
source
actual
to the
reason, the
destination,
SSL certificate
and then
for
apart
making
from that, also
sure
trying to
that
use the SSL
you
certificate
have
for encryption of
we
traffic
can actually
on the
have the
HTTP websites. I would like to say
extractions
in
of
this
the
case.
traffic from the source of the destinations, and apart from that, also trying to use SSL certificate for encryptions of traffic on the HTTP websites. I would like to say in this case.
And how do you get those files? Again, there are different types of certificates. What is the format you get them as?
So basically, the certificates will be coming in various formats like.
So basically, the certificate should be comes in the various formats like PMPAMs, then
and then you have to convert them into the JKS, the Java key store file.
Okay. So what does CRT indicates and what does PEM indicates?
So basically, the main difference between the CRT and the PEM is that the PEM certificates are
CRT and the permissions that the like a PM.
So they are the base 64 encoded ASCII files, and the DER format is the binding form of the certificate, which is not in the begin certificate. I would like to say in this case. So the PEM certificate is something which is a privacy enhanced mail, which is a base 64 encoded certificate, which is frequently used for the web servers as they can be easily translated into readable data using a simple text editor. And generally, when the PEM encoded file is opened in a text editor, it contains the distinct headers and footers. And coming to the CRT file, it is an extension for a digital certificate used with the web browser, and the CRT files are used to verify a secure website's authenticity distributed by the certificate authority companies such as the Global Sign and the VeriSign, as well as the Thaught. I would like to say in this case.
Then is the tiers of the fullers and context CRT find if extension for digital certificate using the web browser, and the CID files are using the video of Secur's website. Distributions by the certificate authority complaints such as the Globe Sign, the Word Sign, as well as the throws it would like to send.
Have you dealt with private and public keys part of the certificate?
Yes, I have been working on the public and the private key certificate in the SSH, and apart from that, also responsible for putting that public key on the DNS so that people can actually fetch it from there and then use it on the various kinds of communications. And I've also created the public and the private key files in this case, which are actually used so that we can actually have this done on the real-time environments, on the multiple environments. I would like to say
improve the communications and also create the public and private key files in the case. We can actually have these done on the
and then it will actually help me to do the various kinds of integrations in the real-time environments. I would like to say.
We should also help to the recipients to the integrations on the real-time environments. Good.
Okay. And do you have any familiarity with OpenShift?
Yes, I have been working on the OpenShift command line interface and also using the OpenShift
I have been working on
Red Hat platform for running some of the containers and containerized deployments, I would like to say, in this case. And apart from that, I was also responsible for working on some of the releases of the containers on the OpenShift platform so that we can deploy that.
Responsibilities for working on some of the release of the containers and OpenShift platforms so that we can apply.
Okay. And do you have any type of scripting knowledge?
Yes, I've been working on the scripting language in the PowerShell as well as Shell. And apart from that, I was also responsible for writing some of the Python and the Ruby scripting so that we can deploy that in the multiple environments and then use that in the real-time servers and also automate the day-to-day tasks in this case.
So,
and I was also responsible for doing some of the release integration and orchestration and working on some of the automated deployments and using the Jenkins Groovy file for that, I would like to say in this case.
And working on some of the automated deployments and using digital Groovy files for. So I use lots of things about these issues.
Which one do you feel more comfortable using, Groovy or PowerShell?
Groovy.
Groovy, okay. And have you heard of PowerBroker?
Yes, I've been working about the PowerBroker in this case, and I was actually using the PowerBroker, which was actually something which should be used in the PowerShell, and I was actually using it for for the various kinds of broker service, and we were actually using it for the connection broker high availability in this case.
Using it for for the various kinds of broker service, and you actually doing in the connections broker high availability in this case. I thought.
Can you just outline some of the basic troubleshooting steps? Assume that you created a PowerShell script which takes care of installation of 5 products onto a server, right? You provided PowerShell script and the user complains that it's failing. What would be your troubleshooting steps?
So basically, I would like to say that the troubleshooting step would be to check the logs of the script in this case, which will actually help me. And then apart from that, I would like to say that working on the various kinds of release of the logs in this case and working on that, so that we can actually go and debug that in the real-time servers. I would like to say.
Working under the various
and try to understand that we can actually have that released and
works out of
look at the for loop, and if there is any exceptions which are there, I would like to say in this case and use that in the real-time servers. And
we can actually have
also try to roll back the service. I would like to say in this case, so if there is a rollback is possible, so that we don't have to worry about any of the rollback related stuff which would be done. And that's how we will be actually using the LDAP server in the centralized machines for the application related stuff, so that we can deploy that on the real-time environments. I would like to say in this case, and then also try to rerun the script and try to see what is the outcome in that case of the service, so that the service can be deployed in this case, so that we don't have any problems on the real-time servers
for the application release stuff, so that we can apply the only real-time environment. I would like to say in this case, then you also try run to the script and try to see what is the out times in the case of the service. And if service is deployed in the case that you don't have any problems on the real-time service.
Okay. Have you worked on Docker?
Definitely, I was actually working on the Docker and the Dockerized builds, I would like to say in this case.
Definitely.
And I was also responsible for, working on some of the
Docker is builders would like to send. In this case, I also
apart from that, I was also responsible for the creation of the Docker files in the Docker Compose and working on the Kubernetes so that we can deploy that in the real-time servers. And apart from that,
Compose and working on the Kubernetes,
I was also responsible for some of the creation of the Elastic Kubernetes service for the application servers and releasing that in the real-time environments. I would like to say.
Some of the ROC creations and Elastic Security service for the application service, and releasing data that is my real-time environments and experience.
So if you want to create a container in a non-privileged mode, what do you do part of your Docker file?
Yeah, so basically I would like to say in this case that if you want to create the non-privileged container in this case, you can specify the runtime in that case. So you can specify the user ID.
If you want to create the non-privileged container, in this case, you can specify the runtimes. In the case, you can specify the user ID like.
And then you can actually use the user in this case and specify that from the scratch so that it can be done in this case.
And then you can use basically in this case specificity from the scratch that it can be done like this.
Okay. In your resume, you mentioned about Vagrant. How you used it?
So basically, I was actually using the Vagrant for creating the custom testing environment so that it can be used for giving the testing environments to the quality analysis team so that they can start the testing of the application in the real-time servers.
To the quality analysis
and apart from that,
so that can be start the testing of the application in the real-time service, and apart from that,
release it on the multiple environments.
So you have used the Vagrant for testing?
Yes, we've used it for creating the virtual environment for the testing, I would like to say in this case.
And create the virtual environment for the testing, as like in the case of electricals in the case. Yes.
Okay. And do you have how much of experience do you have with Artifactory, Bitbucket, that type of products?
So definitely, I would like to say that I have been working on the Artifactory, which is from the JFrog Artifactory, and also on the Nexus server, which will help me to create the various kinds of environments. I would like to say in this case, and then release that on the multiple servers so that we can have the various kinds of integrations done and deploy that, and also work on the various kinds of release integration branch. And definitely, we were promoting the code from the snapshot to the release repository, and then deploy that and use it in this case.
Integration branch, and definitely we'll promote in the code from the snapshots of the release repositories, and I use these repositories in the artifact. Yes.
So, how do you use the snapshots?
So we were actually using the various kinds of snapshot repositories for building the development artifacts, and then once we are done, we will be actually creating the release artifact and pushing that to the release repository, and then also deploying that using the Ansible playbook to the Tomcat servers, I would like to say.
And pushing that release repositories, and then also declared using the Ansible playbook to the Tomcat servers like this.
Okay. And part of your work with the other companies before, did you ever need to create a new YAM repository?
So basically, yes, we were creating the custom YAM repositories in this case, which were helping us in going ahead and storing some of the artifacts on those machines and trying to deploy them and making sure that we will be using those YAM repositories for the creation of the Dockerized environments. I would like to say in this case.
And making sure that you use the SVN repository for the creation of the directories. If the environment is effective in this case.
Have you worked in environments which is more controlled and restricted, where you will not have much ability to connect to internet to download stuff?
So basically, I would like to say that I have been working on the various kinds of restricted environments for some of the banks, wherein we were having the limited internet access, and we used to import everything from the VPN. So definitely, I've got good experience there.
We are having the limited internet access, and being used the import from the VPN to directly a good experience basically. So we always fall like this.
Bharat, you have any questions?
No, last week I already discussed with.
I want to know
Bharat.
Like what is the team
Can you tell
size
me
and
some
what is
little
the
about
day-to-day
the
activities and
environment?
what is the next steps from here?
Sure. So I don't think Bharat might have explained to you what we're looking primarily is, again, as I said, that you work in a bank before.
Yes.
Banks are more controlled environments where you will not get access to internet, right? When you're trying to build a machine, so we're talking about building or prepping a machine for an application team, you will not get that machine accessible to the internet. You have to work within the perimeter of the bank, right? And you have to get all these packages you need from the existing repos, and then you need to do installs. There are certain cases where you do not have an offline install. You have to go outside to internet, and you have to go through some process and get approvals to do that. At the end, the role is able to download the approved image, be it a Docker image or a standalone VMDK file or a virtual machine file, right? Then you write some of these scripts to install the necessary software products onto it. If it's an image or a Docker image, you go to the Docker file, you do that stuff. If it's a standalone virtual machine, then you go write some PowerShell scripts to get that installed. Then you use the Ansible playbooks, you write some Ansible playbooks to get this deployed to the target machines. So when you use Ansible, did you get a chance to work or deploy to both Linux and Windows target machines?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You did that before, right? You tried to to both Linux and Windows. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you face any challenges when it compares to Linux versus Windows?
Yes, basically, when I used to the Jenkins,
yes, definitely. So sometimes the issue is with the connectivity of the Jenkins server with the Windows and the Linux machines.
So for this reason, I have
that
to
is one
create
thing. And
the
then apart
Jenkins
from that, sometimes we need to do the authentication of the Active Directory as well as the LDAP servers.
So Windows and Linux machines. So that's one thing. Then apart from the sometimes we need to do the authentication of the Active Directory as well as LDAP service. So we fall like totally like this.
So how did you configure Linux with LDAP service for authentication?
So we can use the PAM authentication modules, which will actually help us to do the pluggable authentication modules in this case, which will help us to authenticate with the Open LDAP and then authenticate the SSH connections in this case.
To do the pluggable authentication modules in this case, which will help to the authenticate with the Open LDAP in the Universe Identicates and SSH connection in this case. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Bharat. Good.
Yeah. Hey, Faisal, just a quick question. So, in a situation where someone in a business team comes to you and asks, I want you to recommend me a CDN solution, right? A continuous delivery solution. I have no idea what. I know that there are multiple options outside in the market. What would be the process for identifying a potential solution for this business team?
So basically, in this case, we have to first of all identify the application servers and then what kind of application needs to be deployed.
Carefully identify the application servers and then what kind of application needs to be applied
in this case.
And then we can also need to go
try to deploy that so that we don't have to worry about any of the manual testing, and then write that all inside a Jenkins file-based Groovy pipeline, which we can actually use it for the integrated testing
only about the manual testing,
and then release
and
that
then
on the multiple
write
servers,
that
I would
all
like to say in
inside a
this case, so
Jenkins
that
file,
application
a
can be
Groovy
deployed in
pipeline,
the real-time environments, I would
which
like to say in
can
this case.
actually use to the
And we
integrate
will also see what is
testings
the
and
target
deployment
environment where we
in
need
the
to actually
needs that
deploy
we can
this, so that
multiple
we can actually have this
servers
copied
available
or
to
at
see
least
in this case
deployed
that
from the
application
target
can be
environment
applied.
levels, and make
And
sure that
the
we will be having
real-time
the
environment,
real-time
save
integrations
electricity in
which will
the
be done,
file.
and doing that
We'll
in the
also
real
see
releases
what
of
is the
the
target
application
environment,
servers.
where we need to access
And then
it,
finally, make sure
like
that
so that
we are having some of the
we
sanity
can
tests which are done in this case,
also
and try to
use
release
to the
that in the
profits
sanity
or
environment, I would like to say.
latest applied for the target environment level. Make sure that you having the real-time integration which will be done and doing in the real and new release of the application server defined, and make sure you have having some of the sanity tests which are done in this case, try to release that in the scenario environment would like if all are working properly or not.
All right. Any other questions?
No,
I'm good, Bharat.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Faisal. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Thanks, Faisal.
Thanks. Thank you so much for your